Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and very good morning. Um, how are you guys from Universitas Muhammadiyah Pontianak? How are you? Alhamdulillah. All right, great. So my name is Muhammad Zaki. All right, so I am one of the lecturer for environmental health and safety from UITM. UITM stands for University Technology Mara. First of all, thank you so much to our AD of the event, Miss Ellie, and also so much Miss Selviana for together with me here, and also thank you so much to the management of Universitas Muhammadiyah Pontianak for having me and my students down there, Fahmi and Fahim. And I feel proud that I was invited to come here through Mr. February and also the National Relation Office. Thank you so much, and I feel so welcome, very warm welcome I received as the Dean is actually go and fetch me from the airport yesterday. Thank you so much for the warm welcome to us. All right. So today I was given a chance to share with you a little bit on my what we call environmental impact assessment. So it is actually one of the subjects that I teach in UITM, and this subject is basically taken by my semester 6 students because it is considered a niche area or specialized area for environmental health and safety. So I believe in Indonesia, we call this kesihatan lingkungan. Ya, kalau di sana adalah kesehatan persekitaran. Persekitaran. Persekitaran is lingkungan. Yes, correct. So it is totally related to the public health as well, because this morning we have a good chat with the Dean, Pak Ismail, and also the Ibu dari apa tu International of Malaysian Kak Ufi, Madam Ufi. So we are talking about how public health is given a chance by everyone in Indonesia for you to enroll to the public health, while in Malaysia we have certain criteria before you can embark or apply. For your information, public health in Malaysia is only allowed to be taken or enrolled by the graduated medical student. So we not having this bachelor degree of public health. So what would be the what we call substitutions or at par for that is environmental and safety. So that's why we are actually learning almost a similar curriculum, but more on certain things and also specialized area. All right, without further ado, I would like to start my sharing session with you guys. If I am too fast, stop me, or you can raise your hands up if you have any questions, or you can keep it later on while jotting down things so you can ask during the Q&A session. All right. So, yeah, for my slides. So today, what I would like to share with you guys in UMP is all about the environmental impact assessment and auditing from Malaysia perspective. All right. So first of all, talking about environmental impact assessment, basically is a very clear-cut saying that we are doing the assessment to the environment, and also after the project or after anything was carried out, the development, then we do audit, because we would like to check either this environment has been altered well ataupun it can cause any issues later on after the development. In next slide. So we go a little bit of what is EIA itself. All right. So EIA report is primarily an aid, all right, to the environmental planning for new development projects. So we are talking about the projects, and of course we straight away thinking about what would be the impact from that project. All right. So the objective is basically to predict significant, all right, environmental impact of the proposed project, identify the environmental costs and also its benefit of course, and propose mitigation and abatement process. So we know that every country, every place, every province, they want development in order to catching up with the increment numbers of the civilians, the citizens, and also the needs of that particular functional area. So the development or the process of you to finish this project, of course, will basically provide some pollutions to the environment. And of course, if we can say that we are not allowing any pollutions, meaning to say we are denying human rights to become a better from time to time. But of course, this kind of thing, we need to make sure that the things that coming out from this project or development, the pollution, the damage must be under control, and we must know what to predict if we are carrying out this project. Okay, next one. So why we do talk about the environmental impact assessment? Those days, basically, we don't care less about our environment. If we would like to build up one factory, for instance, we just straight away build up without thinking what will be the impact. We know that certain factory will produce air pollution, of course. We're going to produce water pollution. But those days, due to lack numbers of a person per square feet of land, so we not really think much about that.
We have a very good air, so we're expecting that this factory basically can be diluted up, so there's no issue later on. But just imagine lately, I think all of you, when you wake up, when you were born, you are actually living in a good house. You were born in the hospital. You were born with the mobiles on the road already. But those days, we don't have that. So you just imagine every now and then, we keep producing the pollutions to the environment. So of course, this pollution need to be controlled, but of course, we cannot stop them since we are living on Earth. We need to carry out our daily routine and daily chores. And of course, everyone wanted to have a better life, but a better life without damaging much on the environment. Okay, so under this, it is in Malaysia, legal requirement for EIA was plotted on the Section 34A under Environmental Quality Act 1974, which was amendment was made on 1985. Right, so next one. So under Section 34A of the Environmental Quality Act, the project proponent activities which fall within that defined activities or under order of 2015 under prescribed activities. Okay, so not all projects need to go through EIA. Let's say I would like to buy a house and I as one contractor to build my house, one only. There's no need for me to do this EIA because otherwise it's going to be time wastage and of course it's not cost effective. All right, but if we would like to create one huge factory, a very huge residential area, ataupun kita panggil projek-projek perumahan, residential project, ya, kawasan yang luas, a very big area, we expecting thousands of people coming in. Of course, we have a lot of wastewater coming out from that particular residential area during and after the project. Of course, we need to know where does this toilet water goes to? Where does this kitchen water goes to? Adakah or we just want them to be released to the environment and it's become another issue where a lot of residential can smell bad things from the sewerage system. So all these activities basically fall below or fall under the volume or basically how big is the project. Let's say you would like to build only one small complex, shopping complex. We don't need to go EIA. But if you want to do a commercial area plotted with a lot of malls and a lot of residential and also shop lots, of course we need to do EIA because we would like to gauge or we would like to measure what the impact before, during, and after the event. Okay, so next one. Okay, next one. Okay, so this is what is basically EIA is all about. So it is basically to make sure that development and also the environment is at par. We cannot be saying that environment need to be taken care while our capacity of human being to be taken off. Of course, we are actually towards modernization. We would like to make sure that every day our living experience is good. How to make sure that our living experience is good. Kalau satu-satu tempat tu, for instance, only have one mall, only have one shop lots, of course you want more because you won't have to have more selections. Let's say if we only have one university and we are building up another 10, of course we want more 10s because we want to have more choices. Similarly to the residential area, we cannot be saying that everyone need to be living in the apartment. Some of you prefer to live on the land. Some of you prefer to live on the intermediate link house. Some of you prefer to go for the bungalow house. So of course, we cannot be denying whatever human rights are, but of course, with this development, we need to make sure that we are not borrowing too much from the future generation. So talking about the environmental impact assessment, we actually trying our best to secure our future nations from being having nothing. Whatever you are currently using today, you are using your electricity, you are using your water, you are using the fossil fuel, your petroleum, you're using your petrol. All is actually you borrow from future generation. Just imagine if you just use them up all, you just pollute everything today. You drive a lot of cars, so each of you got one car. You don't want to do, what do we call that? Vehicle sharing or carpools. You are actually borrowing from future nations. You just imagine when your kids, when your grandkids later on go outside from their house, a lot of carbon dioxide, and they are suffocating due to that. So that's why when we would like to do development, of course, let's say I have big money and I would like to do a lot of shopping complex. I would like to do a lot of hotel. I would like to do a lot of resort. I am actually snatching whatever future nations' rights because they might not have land, they might not have river, they might not have their marine life already because we pollute so much while we are living nowadays. All right. So in the needs of the capturing the environment and development, of course, we would like to make sure that our economic growth is good. Because if there is no economic growth, we're not going to live back in the previous life. We're not living in Timbuktu. We're not living in the shelters. We're not living in the cave. We also would like to enhance our economic growth by having a lot of reformations and also projects development. For instance, when you talk about this project development, now we have a lot of railway. So yesterday when I came in, those days when I was in Soekarno Hatta previously, there is no sky train. And yesterday when I coming back after a few years, there is already sky train. It shortens time of travel. It shortens my panic attack from transferring from one terminal to another, which is very good. But of course, we are not allowing this kind of thing too much on the surface because otherwise you started to do the pollution, you started to taken aback all the land's capacity to handle the building on it. All right, next one. Okay. So this is the same thing that I told you before. This is the what we call that, the summary of that. So we are the one who initiates the event. So inshallah, whatever I saw in front of me today is gonna be a big boss later on. You're gonna have a good projects. You're gonna be a good contractor, inshallah. But of course, you need to know a little bit on EIA. Don't skip that. Okay, don't skip that because we always have a way how to skip the EIA. It is because all of this regulation was made to be broken. We know that. So whatever regulation and rulings that created is actually for us to broke it, is it? Otherwise, there's no regulations, right? But of course, as we are the growth, the mature adult, we need to go through all the processes. Therefore, we are not selfish during our time of living. All right. So this environmental change, of course, we would like to check in terms of its magnitude, the frequency, and durations. All right. For instance, I told you, let's say we have a huge residential area, and everyone goes to the toilet, and everyone is cooking. So we have a lot of sewage water, and we have this black and also gray water. So all this black and gray water need to go for the treatment. So when it is in small numbers of housing in that particular area, the problem is not really critical. But let's say after 10 years of this development there, the house is fully occupied. The kids is already there. In every house, there's numbers of people additional year by year. So of course, all these logistic things, I mean the affluent coming out from one house, you just imagine from your house, how many times per day you go and flush the toilet? How many times per day you go and take a bath? How many times per day your mother and you cooking in the kitchen? So where does all this sewage water, all this gray water goes to? Of course, they need treatment. Just imagine the fat of the chicken, the fat from the curry, you know, the oil. So one house is all right, but you have 10,000 house in one area. So of course you need to do the treatment. So does this treatment feasible and sustainable for the next 99 years at least? And we know that human nation, we can live up to how many years, class? What would be our life expectancy for Asians? 65, 70? Okay, so of course we need to design something about that range of time. It must be sustainable up to 75 or certain. In Malaysia, we have this leasehold. Leasehold mean when you buy a house, is yours for 99 years. The tenure is up to 99 years because we're expecting after 99 years, the person who bought the house already died. All right, so we have this life expectancy in Malaysia when you go for freehold land or what we call leasehold land. So when I today bought my house, it only belongs to me for 99 years, and after that it's no more. So if I were to live for 101 years, I have to go to the office, go and pay the premium back to get the entitle. All right, the entitlement. All right. So okay, next one. Okay, so next one, this one I've already covered. So this one already covered what is EIA, why do we need EIA. Okay, next one. Okay, all right, so EIA, what is EIA? Since before I keep talking about the EIA, it is actually a planning tool, all right? It is a planning tool for preventing environmental problem due to an action. So let me give you some ideas. You have to do proposal for development. Let's say you would like to make a, for example, Trans-Borneo Railway. All right. So the project it costs billions, and also it goes through and across the continents, and it will eventually damage a lot of forests and also the land. So what you need to do is to do the proposal. So when you do this proposal, you have to submit it for the environmental impact assessment. So when you do this, the project proponents submit it to the environmental assessor to gauge or to measure what would be the cost estimation for the damage. Number one, how many persons going to affected, and what would be the mitigation measures. You don't start the project yet. You just propose the project and they do the evaluation. If we as the assessor, inshallah, one of you or a lot of you become the assessor later on, you do the assessment, you come up with the report, you know, and you said, no, this project is not feasible. It's too much of damage. It can cause this and that. All right. It can cause what do we call alterations to the water body system. So of course, the project will be hold up until you come up with a good mitigation measures, or the project should be cancelled. So in Malaysia Prospect, we have one project that was very scandalous. I mean, not scandalous, but we said it was actually won, the community actually won the project because the government would like to build incinerator. You know incinerator? The incinerator where you put all the garbage, all right? So they just burn it, and we're expecting that from this burning approach, we're going to save a lot of our lands rather than do the what do we call sanitary landfill. Sanitary landfill, of course, we need to have a lot of space, right? So we would like to propose the incineration. And it so happened the community there really read the proposal, and they do research, and they expecting that out of these burning activities, incineration activities, with certain temperature, it can produce, what do we call it? I've forgotten. The furan and also the dioxin. Okay, because we have a lot of plastic compositions, and we wanted to incinerate at 600 to 700 degrees. So it can produce dioxin. So we know that dioxin is very carcinogenic. All right, it's also mutagenic, so it can cause cancer. So the public or the residential persons over there fight for this case, and they won. So that's why actually it is important, because you as a person who live in that particular area, go and read the EIA report, therefore you can measure. Okay, you can measure either this project is good for me or not. What if I allow this project to be done in my area? Am I going to suffer? Can I get the cancer later on? Or does my kids will be affected in terms of its cognitive development? All right, so all this kind of thing coming out from reading through the EIA report. Okay, next one. Next one. Okay, so these are some of environmental problem and related issue. If you don't really go through the EIA processes, let's say in the mining area, so-called that in Malaysia, we have a lot of mining activities, tin mining activities and other mining activities. So when you expose certain surface of the soil, it can cause acid mine pollutions. So of course the air pollution is everywhere. I think it's across the globe except for those European countries where they already stopped the industrialization. If you notice, I'm sorry that I have to share you this, in the European countries, they have this limitation to do the industry that can produce flue, or we call it fugitive, or what they call stacked flue emissions. So they already stopped. If you notice in the story, let's say you watching a drama, you watching what do we call that, a movie, lack of chimney activated over there. They got factory, but no flue from the chimney already, because they have to abide to Euro 5 and whatever standard they already created. But where does their industry went to? It went to us, third world country. They come in as the person who would like to do the project, because they said that in here the land is cheap, the workforce is cheap, so they come here and do the industry. So the one who suffer the environmental pollution is us. That's why the government of Malaysia, and on our perspective, has made sure that all the international industrial transfer must go through EIA in order to gauge or to measure what would be the expected pollutant. All right. So expected pollutant, of course, can cause damage to baby's brain. Okay. It can cause a lot of plumbum in the air, can cause slow growth of baby's brain. So when suddenly these babies turn into standard one, they go for schooling, and we notice that they are a little bit slow. And we always go and scold them. Why don't you know how to read? Why don't you get this right? Why can't you pronounce this right? Why can't you do mathematic goods? It is because the inhalation of the air with a lot of plumbum can reduce the cognitive development among kids. So I think we need to have EIAs because we would like to measure the impact from the industries. Okay, the impact from industries, and also why we need this to be enacted under rules and regulation, because a lot of people always would like go shortcuts. Okay, if they are the contractor, they wanted to do this and they become rich. Me too would like to, if I have money, but I don't have, right? And I think it is actually for us to make sure that we don't borrow as much from our future nation. Otherwise, once they're born later on, they don't know, or they can't really live comfortable nowadays. Okay, I think that would be my sharing with you guys. And thank you so much for lending me your ears. And if you would like to know more, I think we have to conduct more sessions like this. Okay, thank you so much. And later we go for Q&A. All right. Assalamualaikum.